Hello guys, it's me Karthik. Hope you guys are doing really good. So in today's tutorial, we are going to learn about the REST client and get example. Okay, how we can consume a external web service with the help of the with the help of the REST client with get method. Okay, so this is a new feature being added in Spring 3.2 version, guys. Okay, and this is any other libraries do you need? No, this is comes as part of Spring Starter web only. Basically the purpose of REST client is to communicate for the synchronous API calls, not for the asynchronous, only for the synchronous web API calls. For asynchronous you can use a web client, whereas as for synchronous you can use web client as well as REST client as well. Okay, so as of now we don't have the official version of Spring Boot 3.2, so I am going to use 3.2.0 snapshot only. Okay, so I have created one empty project called REST Client Explore, where I am using 3.2.0 Spring Boot 3.2.0 snapshot, and I have Spring Starter Web and the Lombok and the test project. Okay, and what is the external API we are going to consume is this is a API we are going to consume, and we will get this response and we'll try to pass this response directly. Okay, so yeah, let's get started here. And before getting into it, I have created this project, right? There were a couple of packages I have created just to save lot of time. So one is a configuration package where I'm going to add my REST client configuration. Another one is a controller to consume to create this endpoint and show you the results. Another one is a model where I am going to use for the beans, and the service layer where the actual backend logic will happen. So let's create a REST client configuration. So REST client configuration, and let's tell our Spring Boot that this is a configuration with the help of the configuration annotation. And also let's create a bean here. So here public rest client now you could see that one, right? So REST client here, return REST client dot, here you have this create method where you can create basic one or from the base URL, or you already have REST template in your project, then you can use that as well. So let me create with no parameters here, this one. Okay, then I am going to consume my web service, what you call web service, this API here. Okay, so let's say like students info as a class I have taken, and let's keep this as a service. And whatever we have created the configuration, we need to use it. So for that purpose I have added all constructor which is coming from the Lombok, and here private final and REST client, right? So REST client. Okay, so in the REST configuration as well, let's add all args constructor and no args constructor. Okay, and in my service I have added the REST client as auto here. Now let me take public, as of now let's keep it wide, get student info student info. Why student info? Because the endpoint that we are hitting is returning us the information about the students, right? So something like name, address and hobby, so I just given as a student info here. Okay, and we have this REST client, right? So let me use that REST client here, REST client, and I am going to use the get call. So I have taken this get call and the URI, that URI we are going to pass. What is a URI? This is a URI, we have it. So let's pass this URI directly here, or else what you can do is you can create a base in the there and call it from here. Yeah, I think that would be much more complicated and better suggestion, I would say. So this is my base and here this is my URI. Okay, REST client URI I have taken. Okay, and I need to pass anything here because I don't have any path param or the query params as of now, so I'm not passing anything here. And how do I get the data? Simply use retrieve. Okay, so let me put a enter here, then you put retrieve, then here body you want to convert the body type into. Okay, so what is the response format we have? So this is my response object here. If you see, this is my response. If you see here, there is a separate bean here called status, so this I have to create, and this is nothing but my JSON object, and this is a list of JSONs. So potentially I have one bean here and another bean here, and for entire another bean, right? So let's go in that direction. So in my model I have this, so let me create something like status info as a one bean, where private, if you see here, this is the one I'm creating for, and here this is nothing but number, right? So I'll keep it as long because I don't know whether it's the integer or the long, so I'll take it as a long, and this is my string. So and just copy these two items so that we will follow the same names. Keep it here, private long status code and private string status message. Now let's remove both of them. Okay, now what I can do is I'll add args constructor and no args constructor and the setter and the getter. Okay, this is my student status info. Okay, now what I need to build, I need to build this object. Okay, so here let me keep it as student info class, something like student info. Let me get all of them into this. I can remove it later on. Something like private long id, I can take private string name I can take, and private string address I can take. And if you see, I have completed these two, so I can remove. This is a array of list, right? Sorry, string list, right? So private list of string type of name hobby. So I have taken this. Now I can remove this directly and import the list properly here. Okay, done. Now what are completed? This is completed. Now I need to create this outer bean called response. So let me use another bean here called student response. Here I have, this is a list, right? So list of student info of what is the name response, because in that response I could see it as a response, and this status as well. So what is the status? So this is nothing but status info with the name status. Okay, now let's import the list. Okay, so our response mapping is done. I can use this as part of my service. So once I have clicked, once I given retrieve, and in the body I want my response to be converted into this format. which is class format. Now let's import this. Now what will happen? Let's introduce one new variable called this, and student response. Let's return the body. Okay, so this is my student info where I have used REST client directly. Okay, cool. Now just for demo purpose, I'm going to create a controller here called let's say student controller, so that we can invoke our service here. So for that purpose, let me keep it as REST controller and Alex constructor and private final student. What is that name I given? Students info is a name I given. Okay, so students service, let me keep like this, a better meaningful name. And let's take a get mapping here. Okay, get students data private, as of now keep it void, public void get students. I think the better name would be get all students data. Okay, let me copy paste it here, and let's return whatever that is there as part of the service directly here. Okay, and this should be like, what is that, student response. Yeah, I think we are good to go now. And let me run my server here, and application is running on 9013, and this is my endpoint. Let me prepare my endpoint here. Application is running on 9013, and okay, REST client configuration is already okay. There is some issue we are facing here. Okay, let me delete this target folder once, clean it. Okay, clean is completed. Now this is my endpoint. Let me be ready with that. Okay, I think builder will start slowly. If you see here, builder will start slowly. I think as of now you guys have understood, right? I think there is a constructor REST configuration is already defined. Okay, let's not add these two here. Remove that because it is throwing something. Configuration bean, and I'm adding over there. I think this should be sufficient, I believe. Let's see. I think it is starting now. RestClient base URL I have given, and there I am adding the actual one. Here I am adding the actual one, mark get students. This should be matching with the actual one, this mark get students, right? Cool. Yeah, I think we are good to go, guys. If you have any doubt until now, please let me know in a comment section so that I can help you more on this. And our server is started at 9013, so let me hit the endpoint here, get all students, and you could see Here I think not accessible. Get all students data is not accessible. Let's see why. Okay, not representatable. Okay, let me do here one thing. Let me remove this guy, and as part of the service, let me keep entire thing here. Yeah, now let's try. I think we are good to go with this. Now you could see here our server is starting, and it is started at 9013. Yeah, I think I could hit now. Not acceptable. Why? Get all students. I think did my endpoint is not correct or what? Get all students. Acha, here let me keep value. Uh, 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 uh. Started the build. These are the different sort of issues you also might face. That's why I'm not forwarding anywhere. I'm just going one item at a time. Let's see what is going to happen. Now let's see. Not acceptable. Status 406 not acceptable. Not acceptable representation. Why? This is get call only, right? Get localhost 90 http 9013 all students data. Anything else we have? No. REST controller. I probably think something am I missing. Mock students http retrieve body response I'm printing here. What else am I missing? I don't know. Configuration I have taken, controller I have taken, and why it is coming not accessible. Not acceptable. Why? Okay, let me put one thing here. Here, HTTP media type not acceptable exception. HTTP media type not acceptable exception. Okay, retrieve URI body response dot class string response status. Acha, understood. Here you need all args constructor, no args constructor. I think that setters and getters are causing the issue. Okay, setter and getter. Acha, okay, right. I think we are good to go now. This should work, because it probably not able to set that value here. That's the problem. Okay, so my server started running. I think I can hit now. No, I think another issue I faced. That's good. Invalid no serializer found student info, no properties discovered. Okay, student info, no serializer found. That is fine. Here also I need to add all ask constructor, no ask constructor, and setter and getter. Okay, now let's restart. We are facing multiple issues, but those are good sort of issues, and we need to face these things, right? Now you could see it is starting the server. Yeah, now we got the response, which is good. I wanted to do one more thing here. We have taken this entire thing, right? I wanted to just use it here, and I want to send this to the configuration because that is my base, right? So let's see how it comes. Okay, and let's restart it now. This is my base URL I'm taking, and there I am just using the URIs. Okay, so let's see what is going to happen with that. I started running that. Yeah, I think I could run now. Yeah, we got the response, right? Yep, that's it from this tutorial, guys. It's a bit long, but yeah, useful. Hello guys, it's me Karthik. Hope you guys are doing really good. So in our previous video, we have seen how we can apply the get call with the help of the RestClient. Now we have this post call add student, and we can add the student information. Okay, let me do something like Ravi with the same details. Now you could see we got added with the we got the ID as well. So this is our endpoint, and to this endpoint we are going to apply the post call using the REST client, and we will see how we can get the results. So let's get into the video directly here. I have created the project in my previous video. Hope you guys have understood here. Let me show you high level. I am creating a REST client bean object here, and if you observe here, this is going to be my base URL. So I have added the base URL directly here, and directly there I have added it. And when as part of the URI here, I am using the endpoint, this URI. Okay, so in the similar lines we are going to proceed now as well. So I have public, let me keep void as of now, add students. Okay, now we need to add student information, something like this, isn't it? Okay, name, address, hobby, and all those details, right? So for that you need to create a bean, and that bean you can pass it on. Luckily I have bean already with me, so I can directly use it here. Okay, so this is my student info. So let me keep students info, let me keep it as student info. Okay, now you need to import your REST client. That is done. Now REST client dot, you do post here, then you do URI. Okay, what is the URI? The base URI I have already taken, so I can simply copy the second half of it and paste it here. Okay, then this is important, guys, body, and this is a body. What is a body? This is a body that I am going to pass, because here this entire thing is nothing but my request body, right? So that I am passing here. Okay, then you need to retrieve it. That means I am hitting that API. Cool. Once I hit, what I am getting the student object completely, which is nothing but my input only. So directly I can do, once you hit here, you have 2 or 3 options, guys. If you do here, when your post call is not returning anything, you can use something called bodiless entity, or else you have two options in the entity. If it is directly converting into the class type, you can do that. If it is parameterized type, you can do in this way. So let me use this class type here. Okay, so what is a class type? It is getting converted here. If you see class type, we need to pass, right? So this is nothing but my student info class only, but type should be class type, right? So I need to pass something like this. Okay, now if you get inside of this, it is returning me response entity. Okay, this is important. Okay, so this response entity class, right? So let me introduce a local variable. You could see here it is directly given response entity, something like student entity. I can take, right? Cool, nice. Now here what I can do is, once we have student entity, let me add logger to it with the help of this log, so that I can log other things. Okay, so log dot info, something like status code. Let me log it somewhere here. So student entity, that is my response entity, right? Dot get status code. This is of HTTP status code. Here get, not get, that is nothing but the value, this one. Okay, this is a value. Cool. Now this is student entity is nothing but our response entity type, right? So student entity dot get body is nothing but my response entity, sorry, of nothing but student info only, right? So student info, student something like, let me keep info here. Okay, this student info, let's return back to the controller so that I can show it onto the API end, with response. I can show it as a API response. Okay, this is done. Now we don't have the controller, so let's create a controller. Here, since we are passing the data, it's recommended to use post mapping. Value is equal to, let's say, like add student data, and public. As of now, let's keep it as void. Later we'll change. Student here, this should be in my request body of what? Student info, so that I am student info. Okay, and I have already have the service in my controller, so that I can use it. Add students, and I have the students info, right? So this is nothing but, if I introduce a local variable here, it is nothing but student info. So let's change the void type into student info type, and student info1 object got created. Okay, this is good, but this is not a recommended practice. So simply you can do like this. Okay, if you see our this sonar issue is also resolved with this. Cool, right? Now anything else I need to do? No need to do here. So the body I am passing here, and retrieve, and I am retrieving into this. Okay, now let's restart our server and try to hit that endpoint, and let's see whether we are able to add the student information with the help of the post call here, right? So I hope until now you guys are following, because post the body is very important, right? That's what we are doing. And the port is 9013. Okay, 9013 is a port. Then what about my controller? Controller is add student data. So 9013 is a port, and add student data. This is a post call, and body, let's prepare the body. Okay, so the body should be according to the previous. So let me copy paste it here and change this to JSON, and let me add name as Mahesh, and his address, let me keep it as Telangana. And yeah, I think be as swimming and dancing. Okay, yeah, I think we are good to go. Now you could see it got added and we got the response properly. Yep, this is how you can use the post call, post in the REST client. That's all from this tutorial, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. It's me, Karthik, and hello guys, it's me Karthik. Hope you guys are doing really good. So I have one API here which is trying to return the list of students. Okay, so and there were a couple of students we got it. There's a one more API called delete API where we are passing the name as a path param here, and this will delete the record. Now you could see it got deleted with the name Pavan, right? So this is a Pavan. Now if I hit it now, that Pavan should be removed. Now you could see it got removed. So what we are going to do is we are going to consume this API from the REST client as an external API, and we'll see how we can pass this. So we are going to learn about the REST client delete operation with the help of this. Okay, so I hope you guys are following my tutorials. So let me tell you high level about this playlist, where what we did until now is we have learned to use REST client get operation here, and we have learned to use REST client post as well. In a similar lines, we are going to design REST client delete, then we will add a controller to this service method so that we can fetch the results. So let me do this. Let me keep as of now void delete student by name. Here I am expecting name from the API, so I am passing this as a parameter. Now we have this REST client, right? This REST client we have configured here, and this is my base URL I have taken, so I can only use the later one, that URI. Okay, so let me go to my service. Here REST client I have already having it. Then you have delete. Okay, then you have this URI. What is the URI? This is a one which we are going to hit it, right? So this is my URI. In this as well, okay, let me keep it in double quotes first. In this as well, this is my path param, so I'll keep it as name, and this name should be replaced with the name that is coming from the params. Okay, now once we have this URL, then we need to retrieve it directly. Okay, once the retrieval is done, what it is returning, this delete API, is it returning anything? No, it is not returning anything, but the status is proper, right? So this is a what, this is a bodiless response. So similarly I need to use to bodiless entity. Okay, this bodiless entity is returning me what it is returning. It is returning me response entity of void. That object I can use it here. I can just introduce a local variable here. Now you could see bodiless entity, we got it. Okay, so to see the response coming properly or not, I'll just use bodiless entity dot get status code dot value, so that I will understand whether this is proper or not. So I'll simply use return statement here, and this is of integer, so I can use int. Okay, now my service method is ready. I need to prepare my controller So this is my controller, rest controller. Okay, now I will create a delete mapping here directly. Okay, and with value of delete student and name. Okay, now public, let's keep as of now void delete student. This is nothing but my path param, right? So path param, what is the name? That is a name, and this is of string type. Okay, now I have already have that service here, so I can call my delete method directly, and I can pass my name, which I am getting as a path param from the API, and this is returning me what it is returning me integer. Okay, so what I can do is I have this integer, right? So simply use return response entity response entity, okay, dot of, okay, and body of that I. Okay, this is nothing but response entity. I can keep it like this. Okay, now my delete also is ready. Now I can simply run this and I can show you what we did. Simply we have used RestClient delete method and we have passed that URI and we have applied the retrieval. Okay, and we have also learned how we can pass a path param as well from here. Okay, so let me set up my here you could see it started running. Here this is running it what port, my data is running it, my application is running it 9013, and the endpoint is delete student is a endpoint. Okay, so 9013 and delete student is my endpoint, and name is, let me get the name from here. Let me try to remove Ravi here. Okay, Ravi, and this is of delete mapping and I am not passing any body here. If I click on send, I am getting internal server error. Why? Localhost http. Let's see why we got this. Delete student. Okay, this API is not up, is it? Let's see. Think mock delete student, right? So I think I have forgot this. I should give, yeah, I given wrongly here. It should be mock delete student and the name. Yeah, I think this should work now. Let me try to rerun it. These sort of things will come, guys. Why I am trying to show as part of video itself is so that you will also come to know what is my struggle in making this and how am I resolving this as well. Now here 9013, my delete mapping, everything is ready. Now if I click on send, now you could see 200, right? So let me hit that get students and this Ravi should be removed. Now you could see Ravi, is it there? No, it's not there, right? So yeah, this is how we can learn RestClient delete operation. Thank you. Hello guys, it's me Karthik. Hope you guys are doing really good. So here I have one put mapping here and this is my response. So what this put mapping is doing is it is trying to update the information of the student. Okay, and if the student information is not available by ID, it is trying to create a new student, and for us it is giving us this response which is nothing but a student information. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to, with the help of RestClient, we are going to perform the put mapping. So here we, in our previous videos, what we did is with the help of RestClient we have did the post call, get call and delete call, right? Now we are going to do the put call. Okay, so let's get started here. I hope you guys have know this project. I think you guys are following this playlist, right? If not, let me explain high level here. So I have one configuration where I am trying to create a RestClient bean object by passing that endpoint base URL. Then I have a student controller where I am trying to fetch the student, add the student, delete a student. Here we are going to update the student in near future as well. Okay, now I have a service where I am performing the actual get, put and post with the help of RestClient, and RestClient is available in 3.2 version of Spring Boot. Currently 3.2 is not there since when I'm making this tutorial, so I'm using one but I'm using the snapshot version basically. Here I'm using the snapshot. Okay, cool, no issues. Now let's go to the service here. Now let me create a void method as of now. Update student info. Here there are two variables that will come. First one is long id. I will tell you from where it will come. Okay, let me tell you that directly. Okay, so here this is a path variable that we are going to pass, and this is a student information. Okay, this student information we have it as part of one bean here called student info. This will come as a body, right, from the API. Okay, so that will go to the parameters as well. Okay, so long id. Another one is student info as a nothing but info. Okay, or else I'll take student info. Okay, now let's go there to the RestClient directly. Okay, RestClient we have already taken this here from there. Okay, now RestClient dot, this is important. Okay, put method you're going to call, then the URI, what URI you need to have. Okay, now if you go here, this is the entire URI, right? So let me copy and paste it over here as of now. From this entire URI, this one I have set as part of the configuration itself as a base URI. Okay, let me show you that this is a base URI we have already set, right? Cool. Now I don't need to set that part, so I can set till here. Okay, so as mock and student info. Here this is nothing but our id. This needs to be dynamic, so I am calling this from my, I'm setting this from my parameters. Okay, now we need to pass on the body as well, right? This body I am passing here from the again a parameters. Then once we form both of them, we need to do the retrieve operation so that it will going to hit that API. Okay, then here we have two. If you see here, two entity some parameterized, these are the overloaded methods, and bodiless entity. Our API is returning the body, right? So that is cool, and this is nothing but our student info only. This one only, right? ID, name, address and hobby. Yes, so what I am going to use here is nothing but two entity of student info dot class. Okay, now what is the student two entities returning? Two entity is returning us response entity, right? So let's create a new variable for that. Introduce a new variable here called this. So this is nothing but student entity. So whatever the API is returning, we are returning back that. So simply return the student entity. Okay, If you have some business operations you are going to do. In my case I don't have, so I'm simply returning that student entity. Okay, one sec. Student entity, let's keep this entire thing. Else you can simply call get body as well, not a big deal, anything, it works fine. Okay, let's keep it like this. Now we have prepared our update method. Now we need to call it, right? So I am creating one endpoint here from our REST controller. Simply use update, sorry, simply use put mapping here, put mapping, and let me keep value as update student info. Okay, then public, we know it is student info. Okay, update student info method I am creating here by passing path parameter or the path variable as id, which is nothing but our long type, and here request body will be, so that from our request body we are going to edit. This is nothing but request body, we are going to not edit, we are going to give the updated student information, right? So request body is of student info, so that is nothing but student info. Okay, now once we have this, we simply need to hook our service class. Service class is here. Okay, student service. So simply hook that method here, update student information by passing id and student info. Okay, now this is returning the student info, right? So simply call return statement here, that should be sufficient. Now let's run this application so that we are going to see whether it's working fine or not. Okay, now my application is running at port called 9013. So I have a port 9013. Now I need to set up my endpoint properly, right? So what I need to do is go to the controller, update student info. One sec, I need to call something like this here, id. I think this should be good. Let me rerun. Okay, this is my endpoint. So this is nothing but my endpoint id. I need to have it, right? So how do I get id? You must be knowing it. For me it's simple, I have list of IDs here, so I have this one, right? 2 called Chendu, right? So I am going to pass 2 here, and as part of request body what you can do is you can pass, you can take this request itself and try to update over here. Okay, so I have this id. I don't need because I'm already passing it as a path variable. Name is Chandu, Karimnagar. Instead of Karimnagar, what I'm going to do is let me pass Tirupati, which is a famous place, and hobby as instead of cricket let me pass poker. That should be sufficient. I hope application is up and running here. Yes, running at 9013. Now this should be put mapping, and this should be good to go. Yeah, now you could see we have changed that information, right? And we got that response as well. Now if I hit other one where we are getting list of IDs, this should be modified to Tirupati. Yep, nice. And if that ID is not available, okay, let me keep something like 20, and let me keep that Tirupati to some other place called Chennai. This should create a new record in the table, but for us it's simple response. We don't care whether it's getting created or not. Here, since I have the other endpoint hosted here, so I'm simply checking. Okay, now you could see 4 Chendu Chennai got created. Yep, this is how our REST client put will work. I hope this tutorial is useful for you guys. If you found it useful, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Hello guys, it's me Karthik. Hope you guys are doing really good. So in our last video, we have seen how we can use the RestClient put example, and there were some other examples as well, like RestClient delete, post and get as well are there in this playlist. Okay, so here my application is up and running. So let me try to hit from the endpoint here. So I have this, my application is running at 9013, right? 9013 port, yes. And if I hit it, I'm getting the response, which is cool. This is an integer type, so this is a long, some number type, right? So let me pass something called a string here, and if I pass it, I'm not getting any response. The basically here, are we handling any sort of exception, no, right? And we are hitting this endpoint, and sometimes that endpoint could be down because it is hosted on the server and the server could be down. Are we checking that? From our client side only, we might be passing some invalid data. So are we checking those items? No, right? So in this tutorial, we are going to learn that one thing. Okay, so simply use the existing one and let's try to modify few details. Okay, student info with exception, let me keep it as handling. Okay, so here so simply use RestClient put and URI and body. We are setting till here. What we are doing is correct. Okay. Here, what we can do is instead of retrieve, there is a one more called exchange. Okay. This exchange method we are going to handle. Okay. So this exchange method will be a will need a lambda expression. Okay. Here, let me take a request and response variables. Okay, here as part of this lambda expression, what we can do is if response dot, here you have the get status code, right? Dot, if you see here 400 4xx, that means all the status code comes under 400 will come here, 400 401, some status codes, right? So those are nothing but our client objects. From our client side there is some sort of an exception, but our server is up and running. Okay, so when it is something like this, what you can do, you can throw some exception, something like invalid object exception, something like that I am taking, or you can take IO exception as well. Okay, so let's say like invalid object, because in our case when we are sending a string instead of a long or the number type, we found that, right? So that's why I have taken this one. Okay, or else if let's say like response dot get status code, what is that, get status code dot is 5xx server error. That means there is something to do with server side, not from the client side. Okay, so in that case you can handle that sort of an exception as well. As you can see here, we have some server exception, so like server is down. Okay, instead of this, I would suggest you to create a custom exception and you can use that exception as well and set accordingly. Okay, if both of them are not there, that means response is coming properly, right? So I am getting the response here. Okay, and this is here get body, this is my response, but I need to convert this into the understandable format, right? So I know that response, when I'm giving properly, the response will be something this format, which is nothing but a pojo which I have created, which is a student info pojo. Okay, having ID, name, hobby and all. Okay, so my, that means what I need to do is this body I need to convert into the student info. What I need to do, I can simply use object mapper, right? So let's say like object mapper is equal to new object mapper of this, then object mapper dot read value will be there. Okay, this read value, what it does is it will take two parameters. First parameter is what is the value, and the second parameter is in which format you want to convert this to. I am converting this to student info dot class format. Okay, this is done, and this object read value is returning me student info. Okay, which is okay. Okay, now I simply need to return my student info object. Okay, this is correct, right? Now this, since it is returning me student info, I need to modify that accordingly. Okay, I have this properly here. I can simply return my, where this is getting closed here, right? So I can simply return here my student. Yep, so this is up and running. Now simply keep here exception handling and update your controller method properly. Now let me debug this. Okay, let me try to debug this. Put a entry here, and there's a one more here. Okay, something like this, so that I will also try